New York in 1746 was not yet a city of power or wealth. It was only a small port town, crowded onto the southern tip of Manhattan Island, where a few tens of thousands of people lived tightly packed among narrow streets, highly flammable wooden houses, and a constant underlying fear. Life here was shaped by the harbour, merchant ships, hard manual labour, and the still fresh memory of fires and epidemics that had nearly wiped the city off the map. In this video, I use modern AI tools to bring to life historical paintings, maps, and engravings of 18th century New York, allowing us to step into that world, shift perspectives, and move slowly through each street and dock to feel a New York that was fragile, poor, and tragic in ways that are difficult for people today to even imagine. Look at New York in 1746. Don't see it as a city. See it as a place struggling to breathe. Those ships out there don't carry glory. They carry hope. Thin as thread. Every family standing on the shore knows. One accident, and they lose everything. The houses are made of wood. The streets are made of mud. Life is made of fear. Just a few years ago, fire swallowed entire neighborhoods. The dead weren't buried in time. The living didn't have time to cry. By 1746, the city still carried the smell of smoke in its memory. At night, people slept with their ears open, listening to the wind, to footsteps, to hear if someone would scream, "Fire!" This wasn't a place for dreams. This was a place where people begged to make it through the night. The 1746 map of Manhattan doesn't tell a story of the future. It tells a story of being trapped. Manhattan was so small, it could barely breathe. People lived stacked on top of one another, as if there was nowhere left to run. House against house, street against street. Fire only needed to leap once to consume an entire block. Disease worked the same way. No distance, no safety, only endurance. The winding streets weren't built for beauty. They were built in haste, lived in haste, fled in haste. No one thought beyond tomorrow. To Americans today, land means opportunity. To those in 1746, land was a trap. This island held them in, with no room to grow, no way to escape. Look at this map, and you don't see a city. You see a community forced to live under constant fear, with no way out. Lower Market isn't just a market. It's where people face the brutal truth of an empty stomach. Every face in the photo carries the same question. Will there be enough to eat today? Meat is salted to hide the rot. Bread is torn into pieces to feed more mouths. A mother holds a coin with trembling hands, knowing it's not enough. A father turns away in shame, unable to buy anything more. After the fires, many stalls disappeared for good, and with them, entire families fell into silence. No aid. No one came back to check in. Poverty doesn't make noise. It arrives quietly, clings tightly, and slowly kills hope. Look at this market, and remember, this is where people bought time, just to survive one more day. The harbour is the heart of the city, but it's also the gateway to death. Every ship that docks brings two things: life and danger. No one checks. No one stops them. One sick sailor could bury an entire neighborhood. But the city can't shut down. Without ships, there's no food. People know that. They watch the ships roll in with conflicted hearts, hoping for goods, fearing disease. Families who lost loved ones to outbreak still had to show up and work the docks. There was no other choice. For them, survival was a gamble, and each passing day was a roll of the dice against fate. This harbour isn't loud, it's heavy. It carries the cost a poor city is forced to pay just to stay alive. Back then, Wall Street held no power, only anxiety. People stood here waiting for the ferry, for work, for a small chance not to sink any lower. Money was so scarce, many lived their entire lives without ever holding a large sum. Debt was common. Pressure was constant. One lost shipment, one day without work. It was enough to bring a family to its knees. There were no banks to bail you out, no one to delay your debts. Only postponed promises and skipped dinners. Today, Wall Street makes people think of wealth. But in 1746, it was the place people feared most, because here, they knew one thing for sure. If you failed today, there was no tomorrow to make it right. The Dutch and French church wasn't a place of peace. It was where people ran when there was nowhere else left. These stone walls had seen too many tears. A mother begging for her sick child to make it through the night. A man praying his home wouldn't burn again. Funeral after funeral. No one asked why. The answer was always the same. Fire, disease, hunger. Faith here wasn't joy. It was the last thing people clung to when they had nothing else. When candlelight flickered beneath the smoke-stained ceiling, people realized just how small they really were. And they knew, if God didn't hear them, there was nowhere else to turn. Colonial New York streets didn't allow for mistakes. One small flame, and an entire row of homes could vanish. One cough, and a whole neighborhood could fall sick. Children grew up in this, and learned early that the world was not safe. Parents didn't teach their kids to dream. They taught them how to survive. Garbage, dirty water, foul smells. They were part of daily life. When someone died, neighbors helped bury them. When a house burned down, others offered a place to sleep, not out of charity, but because tomorrow it could be their turn. This wasn't a quaint old neighborhood. This was where people learned to live with fear, not as a crisis, but as a daily habit. Great Dock was the main port for unloading goods. Look at the men here. They don't have history. They have calluses. Every crate is a surge of pain. Every workday is a trade-off with their health. If they got injured, they disappeared from the city as if they'd never existed. No compensation, no sympathy. When fire struck, they were the first to lose their jobs. The city rose on their sweat, but never remembered their names. This is the hard truth. New York wasn't built on dreams. It was built on human bodies worn down day by day. This dock is proof of the real cost of survival. Seen from the sea, Manhattan wasn't grand. It looked like a place easy to forget. Low, faint, fragile. No one stepped ashore believing the future would be bright. Many came and left in despair, but some stayed. Not out of hope, but because they had nowhere else to go. For Americans today, that's almost impossible to imagine. The greatest city once was a place where no one dared to dream big. It simply existed, day by day, in silence and fear. New York in 1746 didn't conquer poverty. It simply didn't die. The scorch marks were still there, on the wood, on the walls, in memory.